Welcome everyone, another episode of Drink While You Think. I am your co-host Kenji. He's Matthew, and Matthew, this time, I know I took your line away from you, but Matthew, you've been so good lately. Would you tell everyone about our sponsor of this episode?
I'd like to thank our sponsor, Chargeover. You can also be like Chargeover and sponsor Drink While You Think by just sending us beer. That's all you have to do. Send us beer, Chargeover. Send us beer, Chargeover. That's how you should bill your customers. Use Chargeover.
Matthew, I love your radio voice. We probably better do more about their product next time instead of how they sent us beer. That way people know. But that's okay.
Well, I'm shilling for us and not them. I got it in the end.
Okay.
Bill your customers with Chargeover.
Let's move this over to the most exciting thing. We have our friend Twyla who's here. Woo! Very, very excited to have you. Tell us, what are you up to? What's going on with you? Where in the world are you? And most importantly, what are you drinking today?
Hi, thanks for having me on. I'm so excited to be here with you two guys. I feel pretty honored to be in this spot with both of you. And I'm a fan of Chargeover, although I didn't get any drinks from Chargeover, so I might be reaching out to the guys at Chargeover to say, hey, where's my drink? So I live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I'm a CPA, definitely a non-traditional CPA, even more of an entrepreneurial accountant. I'm a former firm owner. I'm the co-founder of a fintech company. I am the head of the accountant channel at FreshBooks. Personally, I'm a wife and I'm the mom to a daughter who we say has superpowers, which is also known as autism. I enjoy running. I enjoy yoga. I spend time in these beautiful mountains, which are kind of my backyard. And really, I'm passionate about the accounting industry and all the evolution that's going on inside of the industry. I spend most of my days, when not inside of internal meetings at FreshBooks, thinking of new ways to inspire and empower and support accounting professionals who are still serving clients day to day and trying to use technology and service offerings and all of the things to create different client experiences. So I'm in the process of launching a mentorship program for women in accounting, which I'm super excited about.
I saw that.
I mean, oh my gosh, that is just like, okay. Bar has been set.
So that covers from 8 to 12 on Mondays. What do you do the rest of the week?
Try to sleep somewhere in there. Eat. I like eating, so food, and perhaps the most important part, which is I forgot to mention what I'm drinking, which is probably what else I do. So I'm not a beer fan. So Matthew, I intentionally didn't let you know this in case you said, oh, we changed our mind, we don't need to have you on the show, Twyla. Kenji gave me permission to bring something other than beer. So I took the liberty to research something that is from the Okanagan up here in BC. So that's the interior of BC, which is wine country for the west side of Canada. And this is from a winery called Nk'Mip. So it's actually a First Nations winery, and this is a Chardonnay from 2018, and it is something that I've been to this winery. I have not tried this wine, so I'm super excited about
experiencing it today.
It's a beautiful bottle as well. So I'm always the one who, does it look pretty? Okay, then how does it taste?
That's how I pick every time. That's how I pick wine every time. That is awesome. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. We got classed up here. Matthew, what about you? What are you drinking?
I'm drinking from a Kansas City brewer, the Boulevard Chocolate Ale, which is a limited release, but I'm very excited to be getting back to some of the darker beers for me.
That is a very, very.
I am not opposed to wine, Twyla, just for the record. I have had a Pinot from Willamette Valley on Drink While You Think before, because I just having a Pinot. So
he does like the wine. I'm a little bit more the beer, but we're pretty impartial to most. So
he's
I'm
kind of a beer guy. So
I'm going to show this one. This is what I'm drinking today. This is the free Mosaic from another one from Black Stack. This is still out of our inventory from the wonderful Chargeover folks. This one is a triple IPA, 10%. Whoa. So it's setting me up for the weekend well. So cheers, everyone. It's great to have you on.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
That's yummy and strong. Whoa. Okay. So before we jump into the accounting stuff, I did want to go be a little different today. And you mentioned this, but today we're filming this on April the 2nd. And because I follow you on social, I always just like seeing all the things you're doing on social. You made me aware of that today is a pretty special day. And I think you alluded to it earlier when you were talking about your family. I'd love you to tell us a little bit why this day is special.
Wow. Well, thanks for recognizing the day and for following me that closely to even put two and two together here. Today is World Autism Awareness Day. And as I mentioned, my daughter has autism. She's almost 14. She'll be 14 in July, but she was diagnosed under the age of 2. So autism has been really most of our life with her and has been a big part of the journey of being a parent. I only have one child as a result of her having autism and getting diagnosed. I decided I wouldn't have more than one child and really wanted to delegate my time that I had for parenting to set her up as best as possible. So I do a lot of work with her. We've got a lot of support for her. I don't do it alone. We have an entire support team and the school system is excellent. We have therapists that we've engaged since she was 18, 19 months old. And it is a journey. Everything is an experiment. But to be honest, that's parenting in a nutshell. It's a journey. It's an experiment. You're always looking for the owner's manual that kid should have come with and never did, and is kind of keeping you on your toes. It's a different journey than regular parenting, but it's the only journey that I know. And I feel so fortunate that I get to be her mom and get to learn all that there is to learn inside of being a parent of a child with autism.
I love that. I am so grateful you shared that with us. And what really struck me about your postings were the fact that all of us as parents, and Matthew and I have kids close to your daughter's age. Matthew's daughter is actually really close to your daughter's age. I always think about us as parents, we're spending so much time trying to teach. And all your posts recently have actually been about what she's been teaching you. And I thought that was a really cool kind of reversal because you're right, we learn so much. So I don't know if I would encourage everyone who's watching this to go take a look at Twyla's posts because they're great. But is there one of the learnings, I know you put a few up this week that really steps out to you that like she taught you that's, very mindful to you this week?
I think it's hard for me to wrap it into one, but if you let me have two, the first one that wasn't even showcased in those posts is patience. Anybody who knows me knows that I am not a patient person. And she has definitely been the one to flex that muscle for me. You need a lot of patience when you're working with and parenting a child that has extra challenges. And so that's one part of it, is that patience and that persistence that you need to have of just keep going. And then the second would be, and the one that I carry over the most to, that I share with others, is about really being who you are. And she does that so purely. The best way I can describe her is she's just raw in terms of like, she just is what she is. She just says what she says, and she just thinks what she thinks. And convincing her of something different is actually a challenge. It's more challenging to convince her of something different than it is to just embrace what it is that she believes and build off of that. And so I think that when it comes to her being herself, that's such a value and such a gift of just, I'm just going to be who I am because I don't really care what that person's doing. I don't really care, what you think of me. I don't really care how this is going to turn out because I'm just going to try it. She's just very, let's just go for it. And this is who it is. Or this is who I am. And this is what it is. And let's just go with it, which has been an evolution for her. She used to be very rigid. She used to, change of schedule, and that's still hard. And COVID has been really, really difficult for her, but she now she's got this tolerance of, okay, I guess that is what is now. And she still talks about something from the past, but she's very adaptable now as she's gotten older. Getting older has got other challenges, as I'm sure you can imagine. And Matthew, you're probably experiencing with your own teenagers that's a whole other, adventure with hormones and all those things. But she's really come a long way and matured in that respect.
That's awesome. I was really, I've been looking forward so much to this week having you on, because I was just inspired by your postings. And I think it's just a fellow parent. It's just so relatable. And it was a good reminder to me of, I need to be thinking more about things I can learn from the kids versus like, I'm always worried about, I got to teach them these things. And we're going to have a little bit of time with one of my kids away next week on spring break, and looking forward to doing some learning with him. So that's awesome. Well, okay.
What
Let's get
about
into
me? I don't get a word on autism.
Yes. Oh, sure you do. Yes.
Yeah,
So I'm sorry, Matthew. I'm so sorry.
I was going to tell Twyla, I mean, the thing that, meeting people with autism and learning about autism, for me, what it's helped me crystallize in the rest of my life is it's really the first place I understood the concept of a spectrum.
Mhm.
Like there's not like one experience with autism, right?
Mhm.
But it has such a more impactful that's such a broad, like once you grasp the concept, and I don't know why autism is the place, with some family friends and with some personal friends that have experienced this deeply, like meeting their children and understanding them. They were so, like, when you put a human face on things and you start realizing that people are just people, and that there's these spectrum of behaviors, like it explains so much, not just about autism to me, but also like how you can experience life in other ways, and how you like you can make that analogy in other places. And I don't know where, for some reason, autism just connected that for me. That like it's not just black or white in almost anything in our lives, right? There's just not a switch where it's like, oh, this is the experience and this is the experience. It's just this range of experiences and this range of impacts on people's lives, and yours is going to be very different than another parent, and another parent, because our kids are special and our kids are unique and our kids are just live this differently. So that's my big thing on autism. My one takeaway that I've learned from it is like, it's taught me in my other places in my life to think about things more on a spectrum than on like as a, like, you don't just have to get it or not get it. You don't just have to understand accounting or not understand accounting. Like there can be a journey, like, and stuff like that. And I don't know why, but autism is a place where I've kind of understood that concept for the first time, because it's so human. It's so human, the experiences with it. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And if you haven't already shared that with your friends who have children with autism, I highly encourage you to, because gosh, how heartwarming will that feel to know that their journey has made an impact on you and even your day-to-day life. Like, I mean, there's nothing more powerful than to hear that as a parent of a child with autism, to know our journey is making a difference for you. So thank you for sharing that. That's incredible. I love that
thanks.
story.
That's awesome. That's awesome. When I loved how you talked about superpowers, and
Superheroes are awesome.
I love that. And we gotta switch over to your superpowers, because you went through them, and Matthew joked about, okay, well, that's what you're doing for part of your day. But I mean, as I was listening through there, I'm like, okay, I hear you were co-founder of a cloud accounting firm. That was 80/20. You're co-founder of a fintech startup, Helm. And now you're running the accounting channel at really one of the global accounting, leaders in the global accounting space at FreshBooks. I can't figure out whether, Twyla, you love just like everything accounting and you want to experience every gamut of accounting, or whether it's like, I'm going to try things out and I'm going to keep moving through things. If I'm going to get tired of it or impatient maybe, or bored, and like move on to the next thing. But I'm like, can't think of anyone who's had that trifecta in the profession of like, that is a lot of things you have done. Like, what in the world? How did that transpire? Like, I can't wrap my head around that.
And it's probably a bit of both based off of what you said. And you even got me thinking, like, why is that I keep doing that? And to be honest, I think part of it is that I didn't become an accountant to be an accountant. Being an accountant was always my plan B. I grew up in this entrepreneurial home where I knew that I wanted to do something entrepreneurial. And I thought, well, I better get an education in case my business flops. I can always be an accountant. I can always go back to that. And so I have never had this carved out career path inside of the profession of accounting, that it's like, I have to take this step to this step to this step to this step, and there's no veering off of that. If you look at my LinkedIn profile, you'll think, gosh, she couldn't make up her mind. And it's really because I was really open to what's next, and had a very, meandering career as a result of it, because I was just excited to embrace an opportunity that could teach me something else and lead me to my next opportunity. And so as my career has progressed, where we had the accounting firm, and then we kicked off the cash flow forecasting tool of Helm, and then now that's advanced into having this role at FreshBooks, it was very much about how can I continue to give back? And my biggest motivation to move from Helm, which was one of my children, to be honest. I mean, you both know that Acuity is like one of your children for you. And it was hard to move out of Helm because I had invested a lot in it with Calvin. But the motivation to make that switch, or the nudge that I needed, was the difference I could make inside of this industry. Because when we had 2080, we were doing a lot of the things that you are doing now at Acuity as well, that the rest of the industry wasn't doing. And at that time, our account manager at Xero, that we mainly use Xero inside of that firm, they kept telling us, you're doing what everyone else is trying to do. And this was before Helm, and we just kind of had our heads down and we said, I don't care, we're just doing what we need to do and we're helping our clients. Once we kind of popped our heads up from the sand, which was in the evolution of Helm, then we realized, oh, actually, we are doing something that others are striving to do. And so then inside of Helm, that became part of my journey and working with the industry in a broader aspect. Was I had some information and some insight as to what we did in our firm that I could share with others. And then with Helm over to FreshBooks, as you mentioned, FreshBooks is a large fintech company. It has an accounting platform that is in its own evolution right now, and it's a global company. And so it was a way for me to start to extend my reach, especially as I had just gone on a journey of exploring the industry, but also figuring out I actually have something of value. I was building up my own confidence as an introverted accountant, and I want to be able to give that to others. And so that's where I had to let the inside of the firm go, that sort of piece of it, which was the day-to-day with clients, which I still really love. But I was like, okay, I'm going to let that piece of my career go right now so that I can extend my reach further. So it becomes what's next? Where can I give back the most?
Mm-hmm.
Where can I help others the most? I'm a helper by nature. It's something I love. I mean, most accountants have that in them, that part of their reason to be an accountant is because they enjoy helping somebody.
Yeah, client service it's something that probably lots of us get into from the profession. But what's interesting, and this had never really dawned on me until you mentioned it. And I think you can relate to it, Matthew. I think of so many other firm owners who are friends of all three of us, have this unusual intersection of we were combining accounting and entrepreneurship, right? And I was very much that way. Like your story, and I used to do this when I was interviewing team members about how did you get into accounting. And I always found my story to be like the really weird one, because I was trying to get into entrepreneurship. That's what I knew that's what I wanted to do as well too. And so I did the same thing. For me, accounting was a tool to have in the tool set. So to prepare to be an entrepreneur. And kind of when I got into accounting, I was very like, oh, whoops, I wasn't sure when I was very young and working in a big global firm. But as I've looked at a lot of other firm owners in this space, who've had some of the more modern firms, maybe you've jumped onto Xero or other cloud platforms, it has been an interesting combination of accounting plus entrepreneurship, which same for you, Matthew, right? I mean, you grew up in a very entrepreneurial house, but had accounting. I mean, it's a interesting, it feels like those are at two completely polar opposites, but when you combine them, they kind of produce these people in the profession who are thinking a little differently. I don't know. It's just strange. So
You grow up in a small business and you have a different perspective on the world.
you do.
Yeah,
I mean, I think you do. And I think also the other thing is introvert or extrovert. I'm certainly much more of an extrovert, but I think I've learned that there's a lot of wonderful aspects to this community. I've always said that's my favorite part of going from a big global firm to a small firm is it went from a very competitive landscape where you were waiting on E&Y and Deloitte to come in right behind you to propose on this audit, and you were trying to fight each other, to now, I mean, we spend so much time with other firm owners and collaborating and helping each other out. And that's been, I love that part about the smaller environment, the Boulevard community. How do you help each other out and things? And so anyway, it's really interesting hearing that aspect. I had also in my notes, and you touched on it earlier, I saw that you're doing some mentoring. And so I want to learn more about it. I know that you've been pretty active on Clubhouse. And is that where you're doing your mentoring, or is that?
Why does that not surprise me that you are on the forefront of a technology communications tool? Okay, that does not surprise me.
But
at
is
all.
that where? Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, I saw somewhere in one of your posts that you were really developing some mentoring. I think I believe is it focused around women accountants? And yeah, is that what's kind of going on over on Clubhouse or is in other places? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, great question. They are separate in my kind of line of vision as to, or my focus as to what I'm up to. Clubhouse really, Matthew, is a bit of an experiment for me. I mean, I'm not into TikTok. I watched your TikTok episode earlier today. I'm not into TikTok. I would never be able to compete with Laura Lynn, but it's Clubhouse is something that I saw it and I kept seeing it pop up in my own social. And I was like, all right, I got a weekend right now where I'm just going to take the risk and see how much of my weekend gets wasted on Clubhouse. And funny enough, the first Clubhouse conversation I jumped on was one where it was Will Lopez, Hector Garcia, Brian Clare. It was all these people in the industry that I was like, I would love to just steal some casual time with these guys. And so I really kicked off Clubhouse very spontaneously. I was thinking, I'll just try it. And I did that conversation with them. And then the next week I kicked off a women in accounting room on Clubhouse, really selfishly, because I was in a spot where I'm like, gosh, this is hard. And I miss seeing people and I miss getting together with people. And I've been dealing with a lot with my parents my mom is going through some health challenges. And I just felt like, gosh, I am like right up against that spot where I shouldn't be. And so at the same time, I was also able to say that earlier that week, somebody had asked me, what inspires you about the industry? And it was like getting together with people that are also passionate about this industry lights me up. And so as I put those two together, I was like, maybe I could pull myself down a little bit by hosting a room in Clubhouse and getting some other women in accounting together to see if there's anyone else who's maybe feeling that level of like, this is hard and we should reconnect and re-inspire one another. So I treated it like an experiment and it's still ongoing, where every week I have 2 rooms for women in accounting. The one men are welcome inside of, that's a women in accounting speaker series where a woman from our industry shares her story and her journey, and her words of wisdom. She shares that with all of us and allows for some time for Q&A. The other one is intended for women to just have a safe space to be vulnerable and connect and be together on a platform where it doesn't matter if you did your hair, it doesn't matter if you showered. It's part of the appeal of Clubhouse is it's only audio and that nobody is worried about how they're showing up to a webinar or a Zoom call. So that's Clubhouse for me. And then the mentoring side, I've always mentored people and I've always had a mentor or more than one mentor, even at any given time. And it was something that honestly in 2020, I've been sitting back going, okay, I'm no longer doing accounting myself. So I'm not directly helping small businesses get through this mess of COVID. And I also knew that accounting professionals were just exhausted trying to keep up with PPP and like keeping their clients afloat and cash flow. And like, it was a lot. And I honestly sat through 2020 going, what should I do? What can I do to help people other than send them like back massages or like, what can I actually do to really support the industry? And I couldn't seem to put my finger on it. And then now this year, I've started to see more and more reports come out about how much of a struggle the whole pandemic has been for women specifically. And FreshBooks ran a report on some data, and there's been other data points where it's women are just trying to keep so many balls in the air that now they're either the ones who are struggling the most, the ones who have let go of their jobs, the ones who are going to have longer to recover with their business because they are so heart-centered in their approach, which means they're giving away their services because they can't handle to see their clients not succeed through this. And it just started to dawn on me, and I was like, this is the time more than ever where I want to support those women to get through this. And so that prompted me kicking off the mentorship program, which is still in its early stages. And the phases are basically, at first it was like, all right, I'll formalize my own mentorship for women in accounting and put myself out there to say, hey, I'm here for you and I'll support you. And looking for some mentees that could really use my help. Quickly, it became, all right, I got to advance this to phase 2, which is finding other mentors to be matched with these mentees, because there's just too many that have reached out, even though I haven't even launched the website or the platform. The next level of it will be having a website and then having a portal for ladies to sign into, where there'll be other resources, opportunities to connect, even some group connections and group ask me anything discussions inside of the portal. And then lastly will be referrals, meaning referrals to education or referrals to formal coaching or referrals to one another, to maybe it makes sense to merge your businesses. So it's an opportunity to say, all right, you've probably graduated from this mentorship, or at least needs to be on pause now because you need the next level. Maybe that's coaching, maybe that's education, maybe that's a shift inside of your career or your business model or what have you.
That's fantastic. I think you hit on something that we've seen. I think many of us have seen, and that is in this time during a pandemic, in particular, women have been the caregivers and have had to maybe make some changes and adapt schedules and things for whether it's kids being home at school or caring for parents. And certainly, I don't mean to say that, that men can't do those things too and haven't done those, but it's predominantly, it seems like it's fallen more so on the shoulders of women during the pandemic. My wife actually made me aware of the fact that actually LinkedIn made an interesting shift here recently, where not shift, but they're allowing, and if you saw this, to where you can put stay-at-home mom, or you can put, as something as a, kind of, I think what it was sounding like, what she was telling me was that a lot of women are scared to show those gaps in their resume, when in fact they're going to do something very important, probably much more important, much more challenging than maybe a corporate job. And that is taking care of loved ones and people in need, like where even LinkedIn's making some changes to allow people to show that caregiver role there, which was, she was like, hey, we found that kind of interesting and fascinating. So that's awesome that you're looking for ways more directly to connect people and let women talk about that. So that's awesome. That's fantastic.
Thanks. It's as you've already said, I mean, when I took it on, it's like, do I actually have time for this right now? But there's sometimes when time is of the essence, there's a market moment to do something. And I did spend most of 2020 going, what should I do? What should I do? And almost feeling guilty because I wasn't helping clients and I wasn't really supporting the accountants who were going through like the heat of pivoting and shifting and helping all these clients. And I really did struggle with what part can I take from you to help you with that? And then now when I saw this data and what's kind of transpired over the past 12 months, it just got so much clearer to me that if I wait until I have time or I'm perfectly ready, that moment could be gone. And I think that even the outreach I've had from, maybe 3 posts where I've said, oh, by the way, I'm going to do a mentorship program. And the outreach that I've had, that's where it's quickly going to phase 2 of like, okay, I got to get more mentors and I got to be doing the matching and spending my time with that. Even though I have this vision of the portal and the website, I can't wait for it to be perfect. These ladies need help sooner rather than later. And if I can get that started, at least to get some help and some mentorship going for them, while I can figure out the other logistics that follow.
And that to me is such an entrepreneurial, right there. That's a great example of that entrepreneurial kind of drive you've had, because I think that's common in that we get these gut feel or something from the gut or the heart we just feel. And then even before we get the data, and when that data coincides with like, I was always feeling this way, I needed to do something. And then the data comes in and goes, yeah, this is what's happening. And then you get people feedback from people saying, I want in. You're like, okay, this is something we need to just do and go ahead with, even if it's not perfect. So that's awesome. I can't wait to hear about how that goes. I know that's going to be wildly successful, like all the things it seems like you do. One last question I'll go to. I feel like we have to address this one. This one's not super specific to any one of us or making you dig in there, but okay. Matthew and you and I have talked about it a little bit. the big news I feel like in the industry was Pilot's $100 million raise at the $1.2 billion valuation. And it's Jeff Bezos's from Amazon, his personal fund. Matthew, I always lean on Matthew as like our real guru on things, investing and valuations. Like I already see you doing the head shake. Like Matthew, what's going on here? What in the world is going on?
I don't know anymore. Like that makes them, I think Blake Oliver put out that makes Pilot the 8th most valuable accounting firm in the world. That makes them higher than people with like 45.
I heard that like right behind like BDO or something, or
right after BDO or something from a value perspective. And you're talking about somebody with what do they have? 2, maybe 3 times more clients than us? Like maybe. Like they said 1,000, which means they probably have like 1,200 clients or 1,500 clients. And I love what Seam's doing over there. I just, holy crap, I hope they don't get underwater with the valuation, because I'm sure that 100 million comes with pref. Like I hope everybody else makes money. They have to make more than they have to exit with more than $100 million of enterprise value to be able for anybody other than Bezos to make money now. So I as an equity holder, so I don't know. I don't understand the valuation. I do think some accounting firms are way undervalued, not by that much.
well, if you strip away, so I think everybody that, Blake and David have talked about is kind of all the talk in the community right now about that's just a crazy valuation. And it probably just is one that doesn't really quite make sense. What do you, and this is really either of you, I mean, what is that? I'm just trying to figure out what that means. Like when you the world's richest person on the planet is like, oh, I guess he makes lots of bets. So it's not like he's just super interested in accounting. He's probably doing that across the board many places, but the fact that he's investing, and is there anything we should be thinking about in our space, and what does that mean? And I don't know, I'm just curious as y'all's takes on that.
I'm curious to see whether or not this like shifts everything, that now that is the standard, or that is the valuation, that other investments and other purchases will follow that, or other valuations will follow that, or is this an outlier because of who it was who invested, and that's not going to actually shift it, or maybe doesn't swing it very much in terms of, maybe it corrects, like you said, Matthew, like there's accounting firms that are undervalued. Maybe it corrects them to where they should be, as opposed to now we compare every other valuation against that one because it was an anomaly. I don't know. It's too early probably to say.
Yeah, I would just like to say on the record, was Nk'Mip Pilot, Acuity is for sale for $300 million. 600 clients are available now.
Gosh.
For the low price of $300 million. We will only take, you only have to give half that in cash, and their other half we'll take in stock.
Oh my gosh, Matthew.
Good guys.
Yeah.
I was going to suggest that, but I decided not to. Why don't you just put your company up for sale? Everything's for sale for the right price, right?
Yeah.
There we go. I guarantee that would be hard to say no to.
Yeah, or us. We've always said like it would take
for all of the culture talk and stuff like that. Like, oh man, wow. That would.
But I hadn't really considered that part of it, is where the accounting firms being undervalued. And does this help us reset a little bit? Does help us move the value of accountants and us as an entire, I haven't heard that narrative really going around in this space of saying, hey, we need to move that. That's interesting. I like that.
I think the value is that you have to be a progressive accounting firm that unlocks values at every place you find it, right? So the valuation only makes sense if you unlock the value as, like, when somebody needs a merchant processor, you're the one telling them who the merchant processor. When it makes sense to like if you can help, like all those decision points at the small business level, if you can be the influencer for what that is, the value is true. How you build that, like with an interactivity, with the level of interactivity that the small business clients want to seem to have, man, I can't wait to see that technology if somebody ever builds it, because it is really, really hard to do, even with 100 people right now for us.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because you have to educate 100 people. They have to be aware. They have to know what their clients are doing. We got 600 clients. We got to know what are the inflection points we're looking for? Do we have a plan when they hit the inflection points? Have we trained our people to talk to our clients on what those inflection points are? Because this is a big education play. And at the end of the day, it feels like. So how do you educate small business owners, is the key question at the end of the day. So
yeah, I was impressed. Again, I think the valuation is a little quirky, and it would be great if it was that new high water mark that lifted all the boats, right? Everybody in the profession got, and maybe if it was a proxy for really looking at like, hey, accountants, and Jeff Bezos says so, all of us accountants are more valuable than people think. And if the world's wealthiest guy says we're more valuable, then we should really wrap our arms around that. But, I like that the CEO over there, Wasim, and he's been a very successful 3-time, CEO, was aware that, hey, we're not a software company. We're not trying to pretend like it's AI. He didn't say this, but I took it as it's still a people first profession. It does rely on the accountants. Now, technology savvy accountants are where we're going to see the multiples, or where the progression of, I think the three of us have always been trying to move the profession, or at least saying, hey, here's where the profession should go, is you need to be technology savvy. But that they didn't come in and say, oh, the robots and AI are going to come take over things. They were actually a little savvier there. So I thought that was interesting, but I don't know. I like seeing those kind of news stories and trying to figure out what that means. So
for my side, I look forward to when what you just shared there trickles right down to common knowledge of the small business owner, because we can have this conversation around pilot and how it was valued and what does this mean. But now that I've been at FreshBooks, I really see that small business owners still don't really understand the value, the evolution, the technology enabled, all of that kind of built into this evolution of the industry that's been happening. And I know that some do. I mean, all of your clients probably do, and the clients we had at our firm do and still did and still do. And there's obviously clients out there who do, but I can see now from the FreshBooks side that there's plenty of small businesses who still think of accountants as their tax accountant that they see once a year. And I look forward to that message of pilots, valuation, who was this, who invested this money, all of that insight going down to the level of the clients who have yet been educated in the masses the way that we really need them to, in order for the evolution of the industry to continue. Because otherwise it's like there's just gonna be this big spread. We've got all this evolution in industry and all these cool things that accounting professionals can do, and there's all this value. But if you don't know about it, then again, everything's only for sale for the price that somebody's willing to pay, and that'll be the services too. So it's something that's always in the back of my mind, is how do we as an industry, where we've got all this collaboration, what's the general messaging that we can have as an industry at large to inform even the smallest business owner, that you can access some advisory services? And to be honest, we can't even call them that, because they're like, I don't know what that means. I don't need that. But it's like that level of service can be available to the smallest business owner. And I see at FreshBooks that the smallest business owner isn't aware of that yet.
Absolutely not. And again, our profession can be the real linchpin, the link that gets them there. That brings that. But we have to, as a profession, first understand that ourselves. So it's an important place we all sit. And anyway, I'm so grateful you're in the spot you were in and helping, many in the profession. And before, as we always finish up, ranking our drinks. So Matthew, be thinking, I'm curious, as before we get there, Matthew, real quick, I want to say, we'll rate our drinks and we'll kind of finish up. But I just want to thank you, Twyla, for being on our silly little program. We come in here and have a lot of fun and goof around, but it was not lost on me and Matthew that today is a really important, special day for you. And we're grateful that you took the time to kind of goof around and kind of come and talk with us, and certainly share things with us. And we just wanted to let you know that as a token of our appreciation, we, your friends at Acuity, are making a donation to Autism Calgary. Unless there's another place that you'd like us to do that
That's
too.
amazing.
But we just
Thank
were
you.
grateful. It's an important day. We knew that to you, and we're thankful that you came and educated us, and are educating others hopefully out of this. And so we wanted just to thank you in that way of a little token of appreciation. So
Thank
drink
you.
while you
Thank
think
you
first.
so much.
Yeah.
You guys are making me cry. Thank you. Thank you so much. I
That's what
really
us
do
friends do.
appreciate that.
Oh, no,
Thank
we're
you.
glad to.
That's so thoughtful. So I really, really appreciate that.
Oh, we are glad to. Thanks for taking the time on a special day to do that. So, so let me flip over real quick. I'll screen share Matthew. I have a strong feeling, Matthew, that this is a beer that you might really like. Can you please tell me the name of it again? It's the Founders
The Boulevard Chocolate Ale
Boulevard.
out of Kansas City. Boulevard
Chocolate.
Boulevard Brewing Chocolate Ale.
I love chocolate. So at least
Chocolate ale?
the fact that you've got chocolate in your beer or chocolate
Hold on,
flavoring in your
Oh,
beer is
I-
good.
That looks like it. There it is.
That's the 2021, but it's fine. I'm gonna go with
Somehow
a 4 on
I lost your
it. A 4.
4. A flat 4. Okay, I'm gonna put 4.
Flat 4.
Mine is the free Mosaic.
And
For
how
some
was the
reason I lost you on
Chardonnay?
audio, but maybe while I'm
rating?
just screen sharing.
Is that a buy again?
It's a buy again. Yeah, it's
There it is.
definitely a buy
I really
again.
like this. This is a 4.
Especially in my fancy glass.
I'm going 4.25.
That
Okay, and we can't rate wine on, unfortunately. Be real quick. I think I lost my audio on you. Matthew, you keep
yeah, that I found
Matthew,
it.
you keep the vibe going.
You can't hear anything. Okay, I'll shut up, Kenji.
I can't now. No, I can't.
So I found a place where if you know the region of the
Mhm.
wine you like, you can just buy them by the dozen, and they'll be like it'll be like a $10 to $15 bottle of wine. So like Napa Cabernets. So I'll get a
Mhm.
$15 Napa Cabernet, and they'll send me 12 of them, and it's just in a generic
Nice.
label, and I'll tell you that. So that's where we got the Willamette Valley Pinot Noir, and then
Yep.
so if you have a Chardonnay that you like, so if you like that region, then they'll come up with it. And if they ever comes up, you just buy it, and it'll be like $10 a bottle as opposed to $25 or $30 a bottle at some of the crazier things. So
Did I miss Twyla's rating? Did you already rate it? I didn't hear.
I didn't rate it. We called it a buy again.
It's a buy again. It's a it's buy again. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a buy again. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Check it out. And when you both come up to Canada, then we'll make sure that we get some of this.
I have never been to Canada, so I have a couple of places I have to go. So I'm gonna come see you. I'm gonna come to Montreal, see Lausanne. I'm gonna go. I'm decided. I'm gonna go see my Canadian friends. That's
once we let you into the country,
yeah, that's a
then
good
you can come
point.
visit us.
Well, we'll do that. And again, Kelvin says we need to come for Stampede, but I'm a little nervous about Stampede.
Yeah, it's a little wild, but I think it could be fun. We could maybe do Stampede for a day, plan for a recovery day, and then maybe we go out to the mountains and have some wine out in the mountains and do some hiking.
Oh, that sounds
good.
good.
That sounds like the right way to do it. Well, we are grateful, Twyla, that you were on. Thank you so much for joining us today. You're wonderful. And all who are watching, where's the best place people can follow you, Twyla, or learn about what you're doing? How should people connect with you?
Yeah, as we've already said, I'm kind of all over the social platforms. So LinkedIn, Twitter, Clubhouse, if your Clubhouse is your thing, but LinkedIn and Twitter are the ones that I'm on the most.
Awesome. Thanks for being on. Thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.